Good afternoon and welcome to today's assembly. I hope you enjoyed the 3-day weekend and the VE Day celebrations. Very gradually, I'm coming to the end of putting away the various bits and pieces that I brought back from my parents' house, which we cleared and have now sold. It's been a long job, and Mrs. Punt has been very patient as I've found homes for the various ornaments around the house, some of which she's ever so gently suggested look rather out of place. At the weekend, one of the last things I did was to hang up a carving that my father was very proud of because it was made by his father, my grandfather, as part of his apprenticeship as a carpenter. On the back, it has a handwritten label with his name, a date in 1916 when he would have submitted the carving, and Lowestoft, which I guess is where he was training, near to where he lived. And in 1916 my grandfather would have been about 18 years old. Now, some time ago I read an article about the Foray tribe of Papua New Guinea. PNG has some 300 tribes, some of which have lived in complete isolation from the rest of the world until relatively recently. The Foray tribe had had a long-standing tradition of mortuary feasts, eating the dead from their own community at funerals. Men consumed the flesh while women ate the brain, and strange as it will seem to us, this was believed to be an expression of respect for the lost loved ones. However, the practice was very dangerous for the communities they left behind. And that's because a deadly molecule that lives in brains was spreading to the women who ate them, causing a horrible degenerative illness which killed a large proportion of the Foray population each year. Fortunately, and quite rightly, the practice was outlawed and the illness receded, but please don't be tempted to give it a try yourselves. Now, the Foray tribe believed that the cannibalism was a mark of respect for their loved ones, whose body they felt should be shared by those who loved the person who had died most of all. We often say we don't appreciate what we have until it's gone, and that applies to the people in our lives too. I wish I'd listened more to the stories my parents told me about our extended family, my grandfather and the like, because those stories are arguably much more important than the bits and pieces, such as the carving, that are left behind. Added to that, although it's important that we find things out for ourselves and learn from our mistakes, our parents and wider family have a wealth of wisdom and useful advice to share with us, and we often do well to listen and work with them. I wonder if any of us might sympathise with the following quote, which is attributed to Mark Twain. "When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much he had learned in 7 years." So it could have been that the father in question had changed and mellowed over those 7 years. But actually, what Twain is suggesting, as a 14-year-old, we may not think our parents have anything relevant to say to us, and that we know better. But by the age of 21, perhaps with the wisdom of age ourselves, we've come to realise that we might learn a great deal from them. So why am I saying this now? Well, partly it's for the benefit of the middle sixth, many of whom in a few months will be heading off to university. I'm sure you'll come back home often, and it may well be that you come back to live at home when you get your first job. It's natural to want to make your own way in life and to have that extra independence, out on your own for the first time. However, remember all that you've been taught at home, the values you've learnt from those who care for you most of all. Take those values with you when you go out into the world and try to live by them. And secondly, I'm conscious of the conditions that we're all living under at the moment. By us going to school while parents go to work, we normally have a degree of separation, and that can be healthy. By spending our days in different places, we can then regroup as a family with different stories to share, and perhaps we appreciate each other more, having spent a little time apart. But currently, many families are all together all of the time, day after day, week after week, and that can be hard. The tiniest thing can irritate. Perhaps we find we don't have the space to be ourselves. Just try to look beyond this and enjoy the time we do have with close family, however irritating they, and of course we, can be. Take opportunities to be helpful, to make life easier for everyone at home, because like the Foray tribe, we need to treasure our nearest and dearest, particularly while we have them. However, when it comes to meal times, make sure that none of your relatives end up on a plate. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.